Man, I love it. I hope all these places go out of business that just can't find anybody to work here. Oh, really, Arby's? Oh, there's a Chris Rock bit where he's just like, when somebody pays you minimum wage, they're saying, if I could pay you less, I would.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's, like, I just remember being in like high school and shit and working those fucking minimum wage jobs. And just so many times I was like, well, what's the point? Like it's so little money for so much of my time. What's the point? I should just be poor. I should just be just a little bit less poor and enjoy my life to the best of my abilities, And my folks were always trying to get a job. And I always had a job. I had a job ever since Ice Paradise, but like fucking.
What was Ice Paradise again, Mike?
It was a multi-level snow cone extravaganza stand. We were partnered with a group called Snow Business, and the saying was, "There's no business like snow business." And it was a giant. It was sort of like basically, I would say it was the Galleria. It was a multi-level. It was a snow cone stand. But it was a snow cone emporium, a snow castle, if you will, and it had rides and games and everything. But the focus was the most award-winning snow cones on the face of the earth. And I was a snowmaster there. Brian actually worked for a while as a snowmaster too. I was able to bring him in on the second year. And it was like a big Fortune 500 type company. It was run by just a genius, multi-level businessman.
A real Elon Musk type.
Elon Musk type. Yeah, like if there was ever a person that thought outside of a box, it was
That's right.
Or thought outside of a stand.
What size would you like?
Well, yeah, he would. Like he. I mean, we all know that. I mean, that's as famous as Budweiser or Where's the Beef or
Time to lean, time to clean.
I mean, he coined the term. Yeah, time to lean. It's just like a colloquial. A lot of people it's what they call it. A standard, like when a song's so old you don't know who wrote it, it's a standard. Right. Waiting for someone to come in the door and saying, "What style would you like?" Like that's what he brought to the game.
And you're right, Mike. When people hear "what size would you like" just in their everyday, I don't know that they always know who to attribute that to.
He changed the game with snow conery. I like to think that we had a little part of it. We co-created the Morbid Elixir. It's the worst tasting snow cone on the face of the planet, but that's to say something. Like we can,
what's in that?
I can't reveal. It's not something I can reveal, but I will say that there's been several. I think Russia found out about it. And there's been several journalists who went out for a nice frosty treat and just died after they ate it.
If you ever see a snow cone master making your snow cone and one of the bottles they pull off the shelf is sugar-free root beer, you need to be careful. I think we can say that. That's a moment to exercise caution.
What if you ordered a sugar-free root beer?
Then you're not a person who exists on planet Earth.
Yeah, you're not a normal person. And I love where my career is. I love what I'm doing in all my creative projects. But I do miss having people have to refer to me as Snowmaster Mike, Chef Ramsay or whatever. Snowmaster Mike was that was my name for many years there.
How old were you when you were doing this? 30, 35?
No, I was about 16. 15, 16, maybe into 17. But I mean, that's the snow game, though. I mean, you start young, and it's a lot like the Olympics. Like it's a young man's game. I'm not going to lie. I wish I could still do it, but it's a tough gig, And honestly, it was lonely at the top.
Well, I know you don't want to talk about this, Mike, but I know at least in your second year when I came on board, you had some elbow issues with the Snow Wizard, and I think some of the drugs you took to stay in the game, I think they cut short your snow conery.
I'm not going to argue with that. I would say at first that it worked for a while, and then when it stopped working bad.
Yeah,
and I was strung out, and I had to go to rehab, and fortunately, I'd made so much money in the snow game that
right.
It was a very nice facility in Maui, and I was able to dry out for a couple months and kind of get my shit together. And the hardest thing wasn't even the withdrawals. It wasn't even the vomiting. It was coming back to life, back to the world, leaving rehab and knowing that my entire identity, the name Snowmaster Mike could not be uttered again, and I'll be honest, like I still get hungry for Coke-Adderall, which was my drug of choice. It was a mix of cocaine and Adderall, and
okay.
I like just talking about it makes me that little demon starts to itch in the back of my.
Sounds like a Lewis Carroll creature, Coke-Adderall.
Because that's where you had to. That's for Coke-Adderall. You have to just you. They call it butt snorting, and you would grind it up and just kind of inhale through your rectum. Damn near killed him. It was it was tough, but it when it worked, it worked. And I was up there, just these mammoth monster shifts. These extended shifts. I was up there 4 or 5 hours at a time. And that's not even counting like driving there and driving home.
Right. That was at least a 10-minute drive both ways, right?
Yeah.
I do remember driving up there and you'd be on the floor sitting in a lotus position going like, and I'd be like, hey man, and you'd be like, I've been meditating for 3 hours.
Well, I mean, if there was nobody there, I was trying to think up new snow cone combinations. I was wrung out from the first year pretty hard, and I was out of ideas for snow cone combos. And that's when I got into, Eastern philosophy, Eastern meditation. And in the down season between year 1 and 2, I took a trip to Tibet, to Nepal.
That's a brave word to use for somebody who loves China so much.
I don't love China. It's just a place that loves movies. And I don't, I was over and that's, and over there is where I got my idea for my snow cone called the Buttery Nepal. And I just, and I came back, so I was kind of a different guy, and, I did a lot of psychedelics over there. They weren't all hits, and some people didn't quite get them, but I that's when some of my best work kind of came about.
Your snow cone
work. Famously, there's the tiger's blood, which is cherry and coconut, and I came up with cherry and coconut, and then with just a dash of sugar-free pickle, and it was called the Tiger's Blood with AIDS, and it was not as successful as I wanted it to be.
No, it's weird. A lot of parents reacted viscerally to.
We can do this one. This is an alternate version. It was called the Tiger's Blood with Hepatitis, and it was not as well received as some of the earlier work, but a lot of people, certain people, daring individuals, your adventure foodie types, your Anthony Bourdains, he was still alive then, your kind of Bear Grylls guys who will just pick up a bunch of elephant shit and squeeze it in. Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls, and he would squeeze, he'll he'll eat the rectum out of a hyena, or take elephant shit and squeeze it and just drink the water that comes down. He was all about it. He loved the tiger's blood with hepatitis. It was one of his favorite things. So it's not for everybody, but the right people loved it. And did it influence the game? That's for you guys to say. That's for everyone else to say. That's for the world to say.
So people who had already developed a taste for animal feces were your target audience.
No. I mean, that was one of the many things that I came up with.
Oh, yeah, sure.
This was in the early 90s. So, I mean, there was tried out a concoction with it was kind of vanilla with some condensed milk on it, and then a little cherry
secret.
on top.
You can't give out the secret, Mike.
Well, I mean, you know what? I now I'm kind of like open it up because I think people need to innovate. But yeah, condensed milk on vanilla with cherry on top. It was the 90s. I called it Pamela Anderson's titty milk. She was in the zeitgeist at the time. She was in the zeitgeist.
She was on that show Baywatch.
Yeah, they tried to. Yeah, she was on Baywatch, and people tried to. And honestly, let's be honest, she was not the name that she became. Did this snow cone help propel her to stardom? Did it get her name into people's mouths? Not only that, but also that Pamela Anderson's titty milk went in people's mouth. And is it for me to say? I mean, I don't know. I do know she thanked me in her memoirs, though.
in multiple memoirs.
Yeah, well, she has multiple, but in the one she thanked me, and it was the memoir entitled "My Titty Milk."
The famous one, the well-known memoir.
Yeah,
do you have multiple memoir? I don't know.
When you're a celebrity, you just go, "Hey, write a book for me." And
there's a lot of stories. I mean, she had a lot of stories.
I remember you ripping the door off of Ice Paradise because you hung on.
I was furious.
I remember that.
I was upset. I was upset that they were asking me to censor the names of some of my snow cones, and I was like, I don't do that. I'm an artist. I'm a snow artist.
I remember you doing perhaps the meanest thing I've ever seen another human being do to a child.
I'm sure that's not true. Well,
no.
You say what happened. You say what happened.
So, I mean, meanest in a casual meanness kind of way.
Yeah, please.
There's been meaner things done to a child, but
yeah, I would think so.
Let's let the audience decide for themselves.
Yeah, let's let the audience say. You tell. You say.
No, yeah. So we're working at the second location that the brilliant Elon Musk type visionary Mike opened up on Bell. And it wasn't. It was early. Different Mike Rice. What size would you like? It was. I think it was wasn't across from a public pool that had their own snow cone stand. I think that's
yes.
So it was across a very busy road from a public pool that had its own snow. So no one came.
In a parking lot with nothing in it. It wasn't even a parking lot. It was just kind of a.
There was like an abandoned gas station there.
It was like an extended median almost of a road.
I don't know.
And it was difficult to get to.
It was very difficult. Well, a minivan pulled up one day. It was probably the third day we were out there together, and there was no reason for one person to be there, let alone two. And this was before you ripped the door off the back of the building. A minivan pulled up. I think it was like
I don't like being censored.
No, I get it. It was I don't know, one of those Toyota minivans that has the engine under the driver's seat, a Previa, I think they're called. The door slides open in this cute, curly-haired, almost Shirley Temple looking child bops out, and you could see when the door opened that the van was just chock full of kids. I mean, it was just a ton of kids. And freshly stocked, brand new snow cone stand, every kind of flavor in the world. We, as a snow cone master, Mike demanded all the flavors. And the girl bounced up to the window. She kind of sat there for a second. Mike kind of, laboriously, slid that window open. Can I help you? The little girl looked at him with eager eyes and said, "Do you have cherry?" And Mike looked at her dead in the eyes.
You got to also remember there's a giant list of all the snow cones.
Yeah, I don't know that she was old enough to read.
Right next to her.
She was a kid.
She was old enough to read.
All right. So
she was old enough to read.
So in your mind, this counts against her quite a bit.
What a asinine question. Do you have cherry at a snow cone stand? I don't care how young you are, you know that, and it's insulting. I didn't spend 2 years in snow school in cone college to I thought she was I like, no joke, I thought she was mocking me.
Oh, you think that this was her parents drove her there to go make fun of that? Go make fun of that guy who's already making terrible life choices.
She was probably a future Calhoun Junior High kid.
I bet she's got a more successful podcast than we do.
Yeah, probably. about childhood trauma. It's just all about recovered memories.
Anyway,
the window slides.
Yeah.
Looks at Mike again with those eager eyes and says, "Do you have cherry?" Mike doesn't pause, looks right at her and says, "Nope, we're all out." And he just stares at her with those dead, cruel eyes. And this poor little girl lowers her head. And I think maybe it was the one treat she was going to get all summer. And she was so excited. And you could just see like the light dim. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It was like, it's like the horrors and perils of adulthood descended on this poor child all at once. And she didn't bounce back to the Previa. She kind of shuffled and she got in and she said some words. And I swear every single one of those kids, you could see the light go out from behind their eyes. It spread. It was like a disease. It was like a virus, just spread to all of them. She got in the van and they drove off. And I don't think we sold a single snow cone that day.
I remember the mom coming out.
Oh, did she?
And being upset with me. I feel like it. And I also remember...
Is this a Mandela effect thing? Where we remember different things?
I also remember telling a kid that, no, we don't have cherry. We only have asparagus flavor. Do you want asparagus flavor?
I've said that.
Yeah, no, I definitely said that. I held up a bottle of like green apple and like I made sure that you couldn't see the label. Like, look, it's asparagus flavor. Right. It's really good. Well, I mean, what better way to learn about the truths of the world than at a snow cone stand? I
like in your version of the story, this little girl had it coming for some reason.
She did. You don't ask a skilled. It's like going, you go and who's your chef? You're going to go Wolfgang Puck. Wolfgang Puck is going to cook for you, and you go, I want chicken nuggets, and he's like, well, I can. He comes up with this. He starts thinking about it, and he comes back, and he's got this crazy, like deconstructed chicken nugget. It's got French fusion with Japanese, and the person picks up the chicken nugget and goes, "No, I want the McDonald's kind," and just throws it on the floor. That's what that girl did to me by walking up and going, "You got cherry?"
Poor kid. See, I always imagine that they went to 7-Eleven and got Slurpees, which are way better. But you've always resented that kid.
Not the way I make snow cones.
I don't know, man. Towards the end there was a lot of. I felt it was more crushed ice than shaved ice.
Well, admittedly, that's when the drugs were starting to take over, and there's a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of paranoia going on. I mean, admittedly, that's one of the reasons I freaked out and ripped the door down when someone questioned my...
Didn't you call me at home when the door got ripped off?
I believe so. I needed help getting it back on. After I started to come down, I realized, we got a problem.
Yeah.
I think you showed up with one screwdriver.
Yes. But it was,
the door was off its hinges.
It was.
But I think, didn't we get it put back up?
I think we did.
Or did I just lie and say oh man, I opened it up too hard?
I don't know that we properly reinstalled the door. I know that didn't happen. But yeah I want to say that Rask drove up while we were out back. And then that's where the very true statement, I don't know my own strength. I must have just ripped off the edges.
Welcome to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with...
I'm Brian Camp.
And I am Snowmaster Mike.
And
Mark Ryan is we don't know. He's MIA.
Huh.
And not the rapper MIA, but because she's probably working on beats somewhere. But maybe Mark is too. Maybe Mark is MIA. Maybe Mark does all the beats for MIA. Like the song.
He wouldn't tell us if he was.
The song Paper Planes, and then all the other songs, none of which I've ever heard.
There's a bunch of sad vets out looking for Mark right now.
Mm-hmm.
So our first story comes to us from NME, New Musical Express.
Oh, geez. It's a train.
Is that British?
Yeah,
it's a British thing?
It's like a British music. It used to be a magazine or like a newspaper, and now it's all online.
Enemy? They're called Enemy?
NME, New Musical Express.
Enemy.
Am I supposed to believe they're working against something?
They try to fight the forces of good.
Well, they did have a long-standing dispute with Morrissey, so I think they are on the side of good.
Well, then they are the side of good. If they're the enemy against Morrissey, then they are a friend to me.
Oh, Mike.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
So back on episode 19, we talked about a $200 million online media company named Gaia.
How many episodes ago was that?
Well, this is episode 45, so that would be 26 episodes ago.
26.
That's 6 months ago exactly. So, yeah, back on episode 19, we talked about an online media company named Gaia, whose videos blend yoga instruction with QAnon conspiracies about the deep state and benevolent aliens called blue avians that came to Earth to help with planetary ascension.
Did we discuss planetary ascension?
Well, abstractly.
Huh.
Did the blue avians look like blue birds or something?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember now. I remember looking at them.
Like sexy blue birds, right?
Yeah. Total ripoff of Avatar. Avatars with feathers.
So recently, Gaia revealed its newest brand ambassador, who is not MIA, but Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato is a non-binary singer, songwriter, and actor with multiple gold and platinum albums and singles. Gaia wrote in its announcement, quote, "After several profound experiences practicing Dr. Greer's meditation protocols intended to make contact with extraterrestrials, Lovato became enamored with the study of consciousness."
Doctor?
Yeah, I don't know who Dr. Greer is, but apparently meditation that makes you in contact with extraterrestrials. It further added, quote, "Gaia believes the fan base Lovato continues to cultivate has a desire to dig deeper into the more important questions regarding the nature of reality."
Mike brought up the fact that if you're being paid minimum wage, it means that the person who's paying you would pay you less if they could.
Uh-huh.
I think if you're the fan of a musician who becomes a spokesperson of something like this, they're telling you that you're an idiot.
Yeah.
That's a powerful argument. Well, you may say that, Brian, but fans, however, seem to have reacted differently than Gaia expected, with many pointing out that Gaia uses stories of ancient aliens and lizard people as an avenue to cultivate right-wing extremism. This also isn't Lovato's first foray into UFOs either. Lovato recently said they date an extraterrestrial and that referring to extraterrestrials as aliens is derogatory.
What?
Wow. Somebody is desperate for some attention because their star has long since faded.
Well, you say that, but in September, Lovato released a 4-part documentary series on Peacock, quote, "to uncover the truth about the UFO phenomenon." The series has a rating of 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb and no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic.
I don't believe it was on Peacock. I legitimately don't believe it was on Peacock because it maybe got submitted to Peacock. What's the series called?
Unidentified?
That's a clever name.
Yeah, because UFO,
sure.
unidentified.
I was on a series called UFO: The Lost Files.
Were you in a dramatic reenactment?
I feel like I would have heard about Demi Lovato and her arch nemesis Nelly Furtado.
I feel bad because I think that might be true, but it's probably not.
Yeah, Demi Lovato, Nelly Furtado are their enemies, and then one of them calls the other one. I can't say it.
That bad?
Yeah. The first word is smelly, and then the last is... And that's them. That's not me. And
you're just quoting other people. That's fine, yeah.
I didn't say it.
You would never say it. You didn't say it.
We're very proud of you.
You showed remarkable restraint. Thank you for that.
I don't get enough credit for that. Oh, let's see here. No, it is on Peacock. Wow. So I know this isn't good podcasting, but I just want to send a picture of there's the cast list. It shows, okay.
What?
Can y'all see that?
Demi Lovato, Matthew Scott Montgomery.
Look at Matthew Scott Montgomery. Look at his hair. Loit that hair. It says that Demi Lovato's best friend is an actor and writer and an alien skeptic, at least initially. And then it looks like his hair is how can I describe it? It is
it's a 70s Hercules, or was a 60s Hercules movie haircut.
Yeah, but it somehow looks more fake than that. He's got a very dumb looking face. And then to the right, there is Dallas Lee Lovato. Demi's sister joins them on a quest for alien life and is open to what she might discover. Now, Demi Lovato is an award-winning performer, is widely admired for their art, openness, and activism. I didn't know that Demi Lovato was non-binary.
I think that was the last couple of years that came out.
Right.
But yeah, she had in 2017, she's got I'm sorry, I just fucked that up, and I'm a horrible person.
No, Demi's really cool about that kind of stuff. She knows they know it's going to take a minute, and that's for real. I'm, no joking aside, like I am down to do whatever pronoun, but sometimes it takes a minute to like click like grammar and whatever.
Yeah. I wrote everything out though, so that I would specifically use they, and I feel bad that I fucked that up.
I need people to be okay with me accidentally fucking it up over and over again. Just because I have a hard time remembering things.
I'm not good at doing anything the first time.
Oh.
I mean, it took me years to master the snow cone, the art of snow conery. And yes, I rose to the top fairly quickly, but I just, it takes a while sometimes.
So our next story comes to us from the Washington Post. Each year, France holds an annual event called Telethon, which lasts 30 hours on television and raises money for muscular dystrophy. The event takes place on the first weekend of December, so the next one is this coming weekend.
It sounds like, with this telethon, the French are famously picking up what they know from Jerry Lewis.
True.
Exactly.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So really, anything good that comes of this is a direct result of the USA. And I can start chanting USA, USA, USA if you like, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the chase.
We're the international news service. We like all the countries, unless you're Mike, and then you don't like Taiwan.
No, we love France. I have a Jerry Lewis question for you guys. On Labor Day, when you were a kid and you woke up and you turned the TV on thinking you were going to watch morning cartoons.
Oh, man, that was the worst.
And it was, and you saw it was a telethon. Was that exciting or disappointing?
Disappointing.
And did it ever change from one to the other in your life?
Here's the thing. I remember when Ronald Reagan was shot, and I was so mad that cartoons were off that Saturday, and all they did was report on the same news of Reagan getting shot with no updates. And I watched like 8 hours of news coverage that day, hoping they'd be like, well, we don't have anything more to report. Let's cut the cartoons for the kids.
My mom cried
at the telethon
when Reagan got shot.
Oh, when Reagan. Okay.
No, and she didn't cry at this, but I remember. Here's another angry child incident, and this is I will not go see that Princess Diana movie with Kirsten Stewart, whatever her name is. I will not, never go see the movie Spencer. It's about Princess Diana. And the reason why I will not see it is because I still hold a grudge that they preempted. I think they preempted cartoons, or maybe they just showed this on one channel, and it was Princess Di's stupid opulent wedding.
Ugh.
And my mom said I had to watch it because it was historical.
You couldn't even. It was bad enough.
I couldn't leave the room.
Not even if you had to pee?
That sucks.
I had to. Yeah. In protest, I just pissed on the floor.
So anyway, in France, every year they have an event called Telethon. It lasts 30 hours, and it raises money for muscular dystrophy, and it preempts cartoons. I don't think there's Saturday morning cartoons anymore, are there?
Yeah, there's always cartoons. If it's Saturday morning, there's Saturday morning cartoons.
Always cartoons.
Nice.
These kids don't know about the joy of a new season of Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, man.
What? There's a Qbert cartoon? Holy shit. Oh, and it sucks? Well, whatever. I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah.
Did it really suck?
Kind of sucked.
Yeah, well, it wasn't.
I still watch
good.
the shit out of it, though.
Part of me wonders if, as an adult, I would appreciate Qbert now in a way that I couldn't when I was a kid.
Take a Q, me and you,
Oh, no.
and Qbert. That's the only lyric I remember. But that's a real lyric.
The theme, yeah.
Is
the only one I remember.
Is the whole cartoon him just bounce up and down a pyramid?
I think he's like a dad and he's got a family.
No, he had a family, but he was like a college kid. And then the other things that were like trying to jump on him when he was jumping on the none of this matters. Yeah, they were also
it
like
matters a
kids.
lot. It matters a lot to people that worked hard on this show. You know.
You think people worked hard on it?
I think they worked very hard on it.
All right.
And I think that they had to deal with ungrateful kids who didn't appreciate what they were doing, like not unlike little girls that roll up and go, "Go, Terry."
So the event takes place on the first weekend of December. So the next one is this coming weekend. In order to promote this year's telethon, a 28-year-old Frenchman broke the world record for standing on a hot air balloon at the highest altitude ever. The balloon was piloted by the man's father, who was intended to reach 3,637 meters, or about 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
As the telephone number for the telethon...
2 miles, Kevin.
Well, hold on, we'll get to that. As the telephone
Wait, he was
number...
going to stand on top of the balloon, not just... Won't his feet get hot?
All that hot air going to heat up.
All that hot air, it's a flame.
Man, the French love balloons, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They love blowing them up. They love turning them into animals. If you go to the right spot, they'll make it something a little randy,
What?
Balls and a penis. What I'm talking about. Was he gonna have like a parachute on, just in case?
No, I think he just stays up there.
What?
But he
can have a parachute on, right?
No, he didn't have a parachute. He had like a special suit
parachute on.
What if he falls?
Then he doesn't make the record. But he still publicizes the event, which was his purpose.
Okay.
But so he wanted to reach 3,637 meters, because the telephone number for telethon is 3637.
It's only 4 numbers?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's this, like, you can text sometimes and it's like 5 numbers, but it knows where to go.
They don't have a lot of phones over there, so it's not. And also, when you're over there, all their police cars go wee-ah, 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 wee-ah.
It's Klondike 3637.
However, the balloon ultimately reached a peak altitude of 4,016 meters, which is about 2.5 miles.
Oh, wow.
This also breaks the previous record for balancing on a hot air balloon, which was also set by this guy. When he landed, the man told reporters he had, quote, a feeling of zenitude and, quote...
Is that a French word?
No. And, quote, we had to beat the iron when it was still hot. Neither of which makes any sense on any planet in the known solar system.
Beat the iron.
We had to beat the iron when it was still hot. Also, I don't know what zenitude is.
I'm sure Gaia will sell it to you on video for.
Well, I actually do know a little bit about zenitude because I was in Nepal between. Zenitude is like I get into the lotus position, get very calm, I get one with the earth, but also I'll fuck you up. I got a tude, you know?
No.
I'm zen, but I got a tude. I got an edge.
It's two things. It's zen. So it's zen and tude. Zen and tude.
Yeah, zen and tude. Right. So like, it looks like I'm just sitting there kind of being cool, but if you were to walk up to me, and it would look like I've got my eyes closed, like I'm in another world. But if you walk up to me, I will tag you in the balls so hard if you step to me.
You know what, Mike?
I
think we got another shirt idea.
Zenitude. Yeah, it's a guy in the lotus position, and he's eyes closed, and he's just punching two people in the balls.
That's right.
And they're vomiting on him.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I have one question. So, how does he get up there? Do they blow up the balloon and he climbs up?
I think so. It wasn't completely clear, but otherwise, how would he get down? He would have to climb down before they deflated the balloon. I don't
know how they deflate balloons.
But
I don't either.
He also revealed that he's got a new stunt planned for next year's telethon, but that we'll have to wait until then to find out what it is.
I can't wait.
I can't. I'm excited. What's this guy's name?
His name is oh no, I can't.
I want to write him a snail mail fan letter.
His name is Remy Ulvar.
How do you spell that last name?
Ouvrard.
Oh, Remy Ulvar, yeah. He's a famous balloonist. I know you're talking about Remy Ulvar. That's cool. You know, here in the States, people in New Mexico love balloons.
It's true.
Oh, yeah, they love them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they love over there? They love balloons and they love green chili.
Yes, they do.
Well, he's wearing a spacesuit in this picture.
Well,
he looks like he's strapped up to a bunch of shit, too.
He's 2.5 miles up. He probably needed oxygen, I suspect.
Pussy.
How thick is the atmosphere?
I wouldn't need it.
Earth.
It's about 4 meters.
All right. So he was in space then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Clearly, they are expressing their joy and love of Jerry Lewis. Do they ever acknowledge that in the news story, Kevin?
The French don't have to acknowledge their love of Jerry Lewis. It's widely known.
And he's not involved with it at all?
Well, Jerry Lewis is dead, Brian.
No, he's not. Dean Martin's dead.
Yeah, I will say Brian's right. Dean Martin is dead.
Yeah. Jerry Lewis just moved to France.
Oh, okay.
I think there were a lot of stories about how that was career death for him.
Yeah.
Moving to France.
Yeah, he's really into clowns, and he made a movie about it in France, and they wouldn't let him back.
So our next story comes to us from the New York Post.
Oh, NIPO.
Australia has been one of the most aggressive countries in combating COVID. In a recent...
Is NIPO also the official newspaper of Australia?
No, that would be some other newspaper, I feel like.
So just to clarify, we're still going outside of the country being reported on for news about that country?
Yeah, we're allowed to, newspapers are allowed to do that. They don't just have to report within their own boundaries. They are also international in many cases.
I thought that was the unique service we provided, that this was the only place you could get stories about more than one nation at a time.
Oh, shit, we just lost Mike.
Well, he's had enough. He thinks it's bullshit too.
He's probably off making snow cones.
He's probably thinking of flavors, if I know that guy. And I will tell you, just since for the listener who wants a treat, condensed milk in vanilla or coconut is delicious. You split the snow cone down the middle. You pour about 2 tablespoons inside of the snow cone. It is a tasty treat.
I'll tell you
this. Don't let it curdle, because I think canned milk still will curdle if you let it get too hot. You have to be careful.
I'll tell you this. I used to go get free snow cones from Mike in high school. And then sometimes, and when I would go to the snow cone stand and Mike was there, he'd pour it on, he'd give me the snow cone, and I'd be driving home, and in the middle, there wouldn't be any flavor. And I noticed that when Toby Wellborn was there and he made snow cones, he would split open the snow cone and then pour flavor in the middle and then cover it back up. Unlike Mike,
are you complaining about a free snow cone?
Maybe
you can't complain about a free snow cone.
And here's the thing,
Mike's back.
You wouldn't go to the Jiro Dreams of sushi restaurant and go like, well, give me a big old mug full of soy sauce so I can dunk it underwater in there. I make snow cones the way I'm a professional. It's not some crass, like, I make my snow cones are made with love. Maybe other people's are made with fuck. But I make love. You understand?
It took me a second. Okay.
It's passionate. It's tender. It's real. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, oh, there's a hole. Pump, 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 squirt. That's not what I do. And you're probably eating it. You're eating it too fast because you got to let it trickle down, and it makes it's an even tasty experience down. It's a snow cone.
I'm so sorry that no one gets to see you bounce up and down in your chair as you say pump, 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 squirt.
All right, our next story.
All right, fine. I just.
Comes to us from the New York Post. Australia has been one of the most aggressive countries in combating COVID, and a recent mandate bars the unvaccinated from restaurants and other public indoor areas. An Australian brothel called Fun Palast saw its patrons drop by 50% following this order, but now it has a new plan to draw in patrons by offering them a free 30-minute fling with a prostitute of their choosing if they get immunized on site.
A fling?
That's how they described it in the NIPO.
I don't think you can call that a fling. A fling is that's a good time with a waitress that works in the beach town you're staying at for a month.
It's longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But
it's not a fling.
Shorter than a year.
Essentially, that's not a fling.
Well, this is an Australian fling.
What you're talking about is somebody that's going in going, pump, 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 squirt, squirt, squirt. And that's not what, I don't know. There's at least some tenderness in a fling.
The brothel's manager said the program was very successful in reaching vaccine-resistant men and that its business has skyrocketed. Fun Palast also offers vaccinations to women and to boys as young as 14, but without the free sex.
How do they know people just aren't getting multiple vaccines?
I mean, wouldn't you?
You know what? I don't know. It's Australia. There's probably a whole different set of rules there. It's for gals or fellas?
That
work there. Are there gals
that work there? Gals.
Okay.
And the only one they showed the picture was they showed like a hot nurse, like the sexy nurse.
Oh, they always put up a picture of somebody who doesn't work there.
Yeah.
It's called the old bait and switch.
Bait and switch. Yep, Mike.
And what that means is the old master bait and switch.
Vaccinations are offered every Monday from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., though at the time we were recording this, the offer may have ended. It was originally scheduled to end yesterday on November 30th.
So don't buy a ticket.
Don't buy a ticket, non-Aussie listeners. If you don't live in Oz, don't buy a ticket just yet. Maybe get online and see what's going on with what is it called? The Slam Shack?
It's a Fun Palast.
The Fun Blast.
Shack. One step up from the Jack Shack.
Yeah, well, I mean, a Jack Shack is for jacking. Slam Shack is for slamming. That's what happens when bodies start slapping from doing the wild thing. I didn't get jack or shit for getting my fucking vaccine.
Well, didn't you say the vaccine, they tried to inject you and the glass exploded? And
yeah, there was that. And definitely, listen, when you get the vaccine, does one of the one of the ladies of the night give it? And is she buck naked when she gives it to you?
Mm.
Oh, and do you
That's
get it dirt while you're having your quote unquote fling?
I think I the feeling I get is probably you still have to wait the 2 weeks, I suspect.
No, I don't want it then. I want.
Well, you get like a voucher?
Yeah, I bet you get a voucher. I bet
I
that's
probably
works.
I like the
blackout
idea
days.
of getting it right as you climax.
But yeah, because they only do it Mondays from 4 to 10. So, there's like 100 people there. I don't know how many. You're not getting the lady of your choice if there's 100 people getting a vaccine that day.
There's been 100 people a day there?
No, I don't know how many. They said it's been very successful. But I'm just saying they only offer it 6 hours a week. So I can't imagine during that 6 hours is when you also have to get your free fling.
What happens if you get, let's just say,
Okay,
your bodies are slapping, your body's slapping because you're doing the wild thing.
Yes.
And they give you the vaccine while that's happening. When you finish, is there a chance that the vaccine just goes right through you and into the end of that condom?
no, there's no chance of that.
Oh, you have to wear a condom?
I don't know. Maybe you don't in Australia, but I think you probably do. I think you
probably do. Yeah,
they're a civilized
That's the
people.
safe thing to do.
All right, our next story comes to us from the BBC.
Bad Boys Club.
Bad Boys Club.
In June 2020, a train engineer in Japan, which the article described as a train driver, but I checked, and it is an engineer, in Japan was scheduled to pilot an empty commuter train.
It would confuse the British because they would think it's a choo-choo, Captain. So they're rushing to figure out a different way to describe it.
I see.
It's a chee-chee, bang-bang pilot.
Chitty bang bang a train?
It's a car.
It's a car that can turn into a train, governor.
So he arrived at. He was scheduled to pilot an empty commuter train, but arrived at the wrong platform while waiting to take over from the previous driver. By the time he realized his mistake, a 2-minute delay occurred. The man's employer, J.R. West, initially fined him 85 yen or 75 cents, but later agreed to reduce the fine. Yes.
What's the name of his employer?
J.R. West.
That's the name of
here. My trains have to run on time, sir.
That's the name of a Japanese train.
What? I'm born and raised in Tokyo, Japan, in a northern prefecture. Been running the rails for quite some time, I say. What do you mean my accent is strange? I grew up in the Shinto temple right past Osaka.
The man's employer, J.R. West, initially fined him 85 yen or 75 cents, but later agreed to reduce the fine to 56 yen or 49 cents after the driver took the case to the Labor Standards Inspection Office. However, the employee refused to pay the fine since the delay caused no disruption to train timetables or passengers because it was empty.
A man of principle. I like this guy.
Now the man has had enough, and it has been reported that he has filed a lawsuit seeking 2.2 million yen, or about $1,400 in damages for mental anguish caused by the 49-cent fine.
Well, this is unheard of. I won't have this. I will see your insides ripped apart by a tentacled monster. Why, you are a varmint type critter that are more ugly than some hentai pornography that I watch. I would like to see a tentacle go into every one of your orifices, sir. Your orifice.
Japan's rail system is notorious for its punctuality. In 2017, a Japanese rail company issued a public apology after one of its trains left the station 20 seconds early.
Oh, yeah.
And if a Japanese train is delayed by more than 5 minutes, passengers are issued a certificate they can use as an excuse for being late to work.
Wow.
That seems like a good deal.
Is
it not that way?
A good deal. And where I living in Japan, I would figure out a way to fake a bunch of those tickets.
Well, it sounds like it might be national news if a train is ever more than 5 minutes late.
Yeah, it seems like it. You'd have to find a way to make the train late.
That is literally something I would do to get out of work.
Yeah.
Not to get out of work, but that was something I would go really far out of my way to figure out how to show up later.
Yeah, it seems like Japan is a place where it's hard to get yourself out of everyday timeliness. Like you don't ever get like that little bonus break of like, I can kind of invent an appointment this morning and maybe be 30 minutes late or something.
Yeah.
Or,
have you ever seen like the train stations? They have those guys in the white gloves who just like as soon as the train doors open and empty out, their job is literally just to force people into the train.
Isn't there a lot of groping on them trains?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love it. I mean, some people are upset by it, but to me, it's like I just like to be considered attractive.
Oh, you like the grope? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you're not a groper, you're a gropey.
Oh no. That's got I don't know that that's everywhere. That's probably just like some central hub in Tokyo that they have to shove
it's like
people in
the busy rush hour train riding. But yeah,
they grope on all the trains, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually hire people to roll up and grope, so you get the full experience.
Real big, the tourist attraction.
Why is his name J.R. West? Shouldn't it be J.R. East?
I don't have an answer for that.
Mike, you of all of us, you're the only one who's been to Japan.
That's true.
I think we can pull that curtain back a little bit to our international listeners. Right. And you've been there several times, right, Mike?
No, just the once.
Oh, all right. Well, just the once.
Just once. Yeah, I was there like 2 weeks or something.
Cartoons and 60s television in reruns has taught me that every Asian culture is very shame averse and there's a lot of societal pressure for certain things. Is this a shame thing or is that all overblown on Western media?
I was on a punk rock tour and I can't really say like how it like in proper culture. I do know that there's this thing where like if you're somebody's boss, you're kind of just allowed to literally physically hit them. And what? I know my friend you can just like look up like boss hits employee Japanese, and I guarantee you there's gonna be like a bunch of YouTube stuff up there now. But like my buddy like he moved back and he got some job and like he's just like it's fucked up. The guy's hitting me and like punching me and like beat me up all the time because he's like 5 minutes late. I don't know 5 minutes late, but like minor infractions that would just get him like slapped or hit. And even on this, like, so the guy that like took us on the tour, the road manager, you could tell like,
did you hit him?
No, not at all. But he was he didn't hit, but you could see him being abusive to the kid that like drove around, and they like kind of lived in fear of this guy and he kind of like ruled over them pretty hard. But I don't think like the kid like didn't take it bad. It seemed like it was kind of like I mean, as I understand it, it's just kind of a cultural norm and you just don't take it bad if somebody, because, if a boss were to yell at me or fucking take a swing at me, like that's it, like I'm not working there anymore. Plus, not to like sound like a tough guy, but like on some level, like I don't know what's going to happen if you fucking swing at me or whatever. Like that's pretty fucking crazy. It seems like there would be a reaction in that moment, but like it's just kind of normal over there. And the dude, and that is even not like normal like to decide that you're a tour manager that drives around punk bands or like drives and tour manages punk bands is like the most outside. That is not a normal thing in Japanese culture. Like it's far more common for people to find a job that's really off the beaten path in America. And still it's not that common, but like especially to be this, mid 50-year-old guy. So this is a guy who's rejecting a lot of the social norms of Japan. But that idea of like, I bossed you the fuck around still trickles down. It's still there. So it's this really weird, like, I don't know. It's definitely, there's some cultural, like that story of like the guy getting fined and then the guy like fighting it and all that. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Every boss is a drunk stepdad.
Yep.
So very quickly to answer your question, and then we'll wrap up here. So there's a company called Japanese Railways Group, and they own 3 railroads: JR East, JR West, and JR Central. And the JR is just Japanese Railways.
Okay.
Glad I could solve that.
I like it better when it is like a portly Japanese guy in boss hog type J.R. Ewing clothing who born and raised in Japan, but for some reason speaks like perfect Southern dialect English.
drinking a mint julep out of a sake glass.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I think that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. Tell a friend about us, tell an enemy about us, and tell your parole officer about us. Check out our merch store at Redbubble and our Patreon. We'll see you next week.
We got a link tree now.
Link tree.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.